Welcome back, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Whether this is your first time on my channel, visiting, or you're a veteran, you picked a good time to stop by. We're gonna do Ardbeg 23-year-old from the 20 Something series. Tell you a little bit about Ardbeg. Islay distillery, west coast of Scotland, known for their very peated whiskeys. They are neighbors with Lagavulin and Laphroaig, as well as some other good distilleries on the island, but today we're talking about Ardbeg. Why? Well, when I release this video, it should be the day before, or actually Ardbeg Day in 2019, which is June 1st, and I wanted to bring you guys and ladies the oldest Ardbeg I've ever had, which is this 23-year-old from the 20 Something series, 46.3% ABV. It's the second time I said the 20 Something series, so to let you know a little bit about that, Ardbeg is a distillery that is so popular, and the fact that it was producing a very low amount in the mid to late 90s, that there is not very many age statement Ardbegs out there on a regular basis. The regular releases, the Ugadale, the Corey Vrecken, and the 10-year-old only has one age statement in the entire core range. And then 3 years ago, they came out with these 20 Something series. 2016, they came out with the 21-year-old, brought you that in Whiskey Review 45. Late 2017, they came out with this 23-year-old. And then last year in 2018, they came out with a 22-year-old. Of those three, they are all bourbon matured exclusively other than this 23-year-old, which does have an extra maturation in Oloroso sherry casks. So this should be far more Ardbeg Ugadale than it is the 10-year-old, assuming you're familiar with the distillery. Now I went ahead and poured a little glass just to kind of have it open up. I got this bottle about 3-4 months ago, opened it immediately with my good friend Keith from the Malted Man Cave. We were Skyping with Ardbegian, forgive me, I forget the gentleman's true name, but we were Skyping with him from Scotland. He had quite a few Ardbegs, and I had this 23-year-old that we were opening, so it was good timing on my part, and it was an impressive collection that that gentleman had. But again, today we're on the 23-year-old. This particular one, as I said, is extra matured in Oloroso sherry cask, which I particularly love in Ardbeg. A lot of times they just do the bourbon cask matured whiskeys, which are also fantastic, like the 10-year-old, like the 21, like the 22, and very similar to a distillery, say like Balvenie. They do bourbon matured whiskey for a long time extremely well. But I'm also a big fan of sherry, and adding a little bit of sherry to this, I'm excited to get into it. Let it oxidize for a while in the bottle. I'm gonna talk probably too much why this opens up a little bit in the glass, but while we do that, I want to tell you two things. One, the color. The color is a rich gold, almost a dirty gold, if you will. And the legs on this one, if you can pick them up, man, they come down thick and oily. The legs give you the illusion of something that is far higher than 46.3% ABV, but why a high ABV, it's still not cask strength, and if it was, I probably wouldn't be able to afford the bottle. Something else I want to tell you, like with all Ardbegs, this one is unchill filtered and uncolored. So you know the color in this glass is what the whiskey had done to it by the maturation. The 20 Something series for me has been both an exciting group of whiskeys of 3 to try, almost a little bit disappointing, just because they are pretty expensive for the age statements that you get. But again, Ardbeg does not have very many age statements, and it is just a fantastic whiskey. Tell you a little bit about the bottle itself. The distillery manager, Mickey Heads, has a signature down here on the bottom. Says it was bottled in 2017, non-chill filtered, 23 years old. On the back, talks about the 20 Something as a rare opportunity to visit the older Ardbeg expressions from the previous stills. So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna see what we think as far as the smell and the taste. If you wanna know what I thought about the 21-year-old, Whiskey Review 45, scroll on down, guys. All right, first thing I'm gonna do, give a quick swirl around the glass, tell you what I get on the nose. Initially smoke. you know, I'm no stranger to peated whiskey. If you've watched my channel on a semi-regular basis, you know I like the smoky whiskeys. The smoke is definitely the first thing you're going to pick up on this. It is an aggressive smell. Young almost as far as the intensity of the 46.3% ABV, knowing though that it's still a 23-year-old whiskey. But it is a very elegant smoke, almost like the smooth or fine smoke from, say, like a Lafroig 25 or a Talisker 30. Just a very rich, full, elegant smoke. Start picking up some of those Oloroso sherry flavors, figs, dates, and like a wine characteristic to it. And I know it was the Oloroso sherry, but like very distinct note of some type of a wine, or actually I think it's a grape. I think it's like a red grape. Yeah, red grape, that's what it is. And then ginger. Like, if you're a fan of sushi, like you get the wasabi and the ginger. The ginger's that pink stuff you put on top, not the green wasabi that burns you. Just that light ginger. Actually, it's not that light. It's really right there. And dough. Almost like a Springbank, as far as, I've always called Springbanks like a funky dough smell, left out too long. This isn't funky dough, this is very fresh dough. You know what it smells like? I had a bunch of sisters, 5. And when I was a kid, at Christmas time, they make gingerbread houses. And before they put the frosting and everything on it, it smells like the gingerbread house. And then now there's like this woody characteristics is coming up. Vanilla, I don't know how I missed that initially because it's really right there. Man, it's evolving. This is a very, very complex nose. Easily the most complex nose of any Ardbeg I've tried. And as far as a peated Islay whiskey, it's right up there as far as complexity with any of them. There's just a lot going on in the nose. And there's like a metallic smell, which is not off-putting, but I didn't invite it either. Almost like aluminum foil sort of smell, just kind of lingering there in the background. There's those figs and dates again. Man, wow. This is one, the first time I had it, me and Keith spent a good amount of time with it. I had one other small dram before I recorded this video now, and I probably sat there and let it sat for a half hour, and it just kept going, kept evolving. It was just trading back and forth with fruity figs and dates, that dark red grape, woodiness, wood smoke and peat smoke, and a little bit of leather. I have a leather couch. I kind of put on some leather cleaner a few weeks ago, and I kind of like that smell the next morning. A little bit of that. And cherry. Almost like a Glendronach Morello cherry. It's obviously not that strong, but it's there. Now milk chocolate. Tar. And a spice. Maybe nutmeg. Maybe a light toasted almond. Let me have a sip. I could literally talk about this nose all day long, and that's the last thing you guys want to do is watch me tell you about smells for 10 minutes. Let's see what it tastes like. Thick, very viscous on the palate for only being 46% ABV. Creamy, vanilla cream, milk chocolate, tar, fresh cookie dough. There's that ginger, It's peppery on the palate, where there was no pepper smell in the nose. It's peppery on the palate. Nutmeg. A little bit of that wood smoke. Maybe tobacco? Maybe like a fresh tobacco leaf? Yeah, wow. I mean, a lot going on. This, if you guys get your hands on it, it's not an easy to find bottle. This 23-year-old Ardbeg, 2017 version. Also very expensive whiskey. You know, you're probably pushing $500 depending on where you're at. If you're a fan of Ardbeg, more specifically, if you like the Ardbeg Uigeadail, and you want to know what the best version of an Uigeadail you could possibly try is, you got to try this 23-year-old. This is truly a unique experience. And the finish is just lingering right there. You can feel the oil and almost the tar and the sootiness still on your palate. Tobacco, cherries, ginger, light. It's nutmeg. It's not shaved almonds. It's nutmeg on the palate. It's a little bit of a peppery bite. It's vanilla cream, almost like a vanilla custard. Almost like if you ever have creme brulee and you take all the cherries and everything off, just take all the fruit off and no whipped cream, just the creme brulee itself. And you take the layer of a glazed layer of crystallized sugar. It's like almost like a vanilla custard underneath. I get a lot of that with this one. Just a very rewarding experience for the price you have to pay for this bottle. I did not think the value for what it cost was on point with the 21-year-old. And to be fair, all Scotch whiskeys are overpriced to some degree, but this one here is quite a bit better of a whiskey experience than the 21-year-old. So considering they were a similar price when they first came out, this is by far the better purchase. All right, so I added a little bit of water just to see kind of what it did to the whiskey. And unfortunately, I have to rush this a little bit. I like to spend a lot more time with it, but you don't want a 40-minute review, I'm sure. Not that I wouldn't sit here and talk for 40 minutes. You know I would. Okay, so with a little bit of water, the smoke took a little bit of a step back. So did the figs and the dates, some of the fruitier notes. But what did come out is that red grape and that vanilla custard cream. And that ginger's just right there, so prominent. Gingerbread house, gingerbread man, before you put the frosting on any of it. Getting a lot of that. Getting a lot of almost like tarry cherry note. So again, that Morello cherry just drenched in char. Tar. Think of, you know, like a chocolate covered cherry. Think of that, but it was asphalt. That's what I'm getting on the nose when you add a little bit of water. And then there's that beautiful milk chocolate and that fresh dough. Nutmeg. Wow. Just an incredible nose on this one. I have not had Ardbegs from the 70s, 80s. People say they are incredible. I got a buddy who has an Ardbeg 1977. Fortunately, he doesn't live by me, so I have to live vicariously through his tasting notes on our shared whiskey group on Facebook. But I'm getting a little bit of that, a little bit of those tasting notes with this 23. Like I said, easily the oldest and best Ardbeg I've had the pleasure of drinking. All right, one more sip. Vanilla cream, smoke, sophisticated road tar, milk chocolate, dough, pepper, nutmeg, wood smoke, peat smoke, an incredible whiskey. If you guys have one of these bottles, I would love to know what you think of it. As far as a whiskey score, I'm going 92 out of 100. For a good whiskey, I like to go 91. For 92, any more these days with me, it needs to be an impressive experience, and that's what we have here with this Ardbeg 23. To Mickey Heads, the distillery manager, everyone who saved Ardbeg, everyone who is currently working at Ardbeg, for those of you that Just recently probably went to the Isle Fest. I envy all of you. Want to thank Ardbeg for producing such a fantastic bottle, making it available in a large enough quantity where we can get it here in the States. I also want to thank my local Giant Eagle liquor store, my friend Joe, for getting this bottle for me. It was the only one he could find. I think he brought it from somewhere in the Cleveland area down here to Columbus to make me happy. So thank you, my friend. This is a good one I hope to share with some friends and keep along for many years. Dustin, when I come down to Cincinnati, I'm going to bring you a sample of this, my friend. I think you had that Springbank 25 for me. I'm going to hold you to that. But until next time, I want to thank you for once again joining me for another whiskey review. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. And until next time, happy drinking.